So this is round 4 here, and I'm playing the black pieces against, as you can see, 1140 rated player. They're all Indians. I'm not against that or anything, just outlining that out. Most of the people in the tournament are Indians, so I'm assuming they love chess. Yeah. So the game started with d4. A bit surprising, but not so much. Obviously, you'd expect d4, but d4 is also very common. Sorry, let me turn on just the review here. I actually didn't review this. Let's see my score. Alright, knight 2.1 with one brilliant move. Okay, very nice. And my opponent also played well. Actually, this game was kind of short. There isn't really what I would say something to talk about here. d4, d5, and then c4, the queen's gambit, which is my main weapon. So it's nice to see it being played against me because I figured I have some defenses against my own weapon. I played the stuff. Now, when I first started playing against the Queen's Gambit, I always played e6. I just hated this Slav. But as I got more into this black side of the Queen's Gambit, I started to figure out that the Slav defense is actually very good. The reason it's very good, well, it's not a reason, but most of the time it goes into the semi-Slav. My opponents allow me to play the semi-Slav with this three knights variation and this pawn pyramid. And as you can tell, this defense is very solid, and it's very theoretically rich, but the ideas are clear cut, and black can get very great and dangerous positions if white is not careful. So it's not really just a hiding opening, and you'll see what I mean. Now here there are two main moves. There's bishop g5, which got played in the game, and there's also e3. e3 is the main line, and it can enter the Miran. Here after knight bd7, let me just turn this off. Here after knight bd7, right? There is wait, sorry, e3, knight bd7, and now he can choose to play bishop to d3. This is again the main move, and after bishop to d3, we can enter the Miran variation. After d takes on c4, which looks very weird because you're getting rid of your pawn chain, but here is the idea. This light squared bishop is very passive, and you need to develop it. So what you do is you wait till the bishop comes out to d3 by playing knight bd7, and when it does come out, you capture this pawn, you make white waste the move, right? Just to illustrate the point, had I, instead of playing knight bd7, played d takes on c4, and then he recaptures, we get the exact same position as the other variation, except that my knight is not on d7. So basically, by playing knight b, sorry, this is what happened in the game. By playing knight bd7, after this, now it's my turn and I have a knight on d7. And here again, I take that advantage of the bishop being on c4, and I can play b5. Now this didn't happen in the game, but I'm just showing you the idea of the move e3. And after, now there are moves such as bishop b3, bishop to d3, which is the main move, and there's even bishop b2. Usually bishop to d3 gets played, and then you develop your bishop. You either develop your bishop to b7, that is a line, and there's also a6. a6 idea is clear cut. You want to protect this pawn to play c5. So let's say white castles, now you play c5. And the idea is now you have this extremely long diagonal. And if they trade, you're very happy to activate this bishop as well. You have the bishop here, your castle, and objectively completely equal position with actually great chances for the black pieces. So this was the line that I was expecting. But instead of all of this, he didn't choose to go for the main line of a3. He went for bishop to g5, which is again totally playable. And against bishop to g5, which I had prepared against, I played h6. Now the idea is h6 is quite obvious. You want to challenge this bishop, force it to make a decision. Does he take or does he retreat, maintaining the pin? And there are actually so many lines here, believe it or not. The line takes is playable, and the idea is black has the bishop pair, but his queen is misplaced. Usually the queen will have to go back to d8, and the knight or the bishop needs to be on f6, so black will waste some time getting into his optimal position. But if he does manage to consolidate, his position is totally fine. He has the bishop pair, while white will try to take advantage of this and maybe even strike in the center of e4 potentially, and it's just more of a positional game. It's really nothing much to say if that occurred. However, instead of capturing the knight, you can also go back and maintain the pin. And here there is the wait, let me try to remember what it was called. I don't remember what it was called, but it's now you can capture on c4. And the idea is white has to play e4, trying to go e5 and trying to ruin the pawn. And now instead of going b5 and allowing this, where you have g5 now and you allow the sacrifice, you go g4, you go g5 beforehand, and now you force the bishop back. Now there is no sacrifice here, it's worth mentioning, because of bishop e7, very common for people to sacrifice here, but there is no real reason to do that. So the bishop will have to go back, and now you play b5, and it's very clear here. Black is up a pawn, but his structure of pawns is not great. So white definitely has a lot of compensation. White can get his bishop out, can castle, and chip away at the structure of a5 and h4, a4 and h4. So this is a line, and I'm prepared for it, and this was what I was going to play had he retreated the bishop. But here is the shock. He does not retreat the bishop, or he does, but to this square. He goes bishop f4, and this is objectively bad. Because first of all, if you're going to play bishop to f4, why not play it immediately? Why do you give black the move h6? And second of all, now black can capture the pawn, and after pawn to e4, he plays a4 first, but I can still play b5. Let's say I play a6, I can still play b5. My idea initially is a6, e4, b5. That was initially my idea, and it's playable, but I realized that he can actually take all of this and even capture here because of the pin. Now, the computer finds a way that this is equal for the white, for even better for black because of bishop b4. Let's see, and king to e2 is forced. Why? Let's say he trades with the bishop. Now you play bishop b7. Let's say he retreats, takes, and you win a pawn back. So basically the computer is arguing that this pawn majority is better for black. I mean, no way someone will actually play into that. I just discovered this time. But basically that's why I don't play a6. So instead of that, I played, when he played knight d4, I found this very nice idea, knight to d5. It's a very nice idea. Now let me just point this out. This is not optimal for white because black has not committed into playing g5. He can actually castle kingside and just be completely fine. So when you play knight d5, now you don't want to trade the knights because this fixes the structure, and I mean this is completely fine for the black pieces. He's up a clean pawn here on c4, and by doing this you attack the bishop and the knight. So later you can play b5 with no problems, takes, no problems, because you can trade the knight off. Best move here, obviously bishop to d2. The reason it's a best move, I don't know. Let's say you retreat. Now I can actually go bishop b4, because you can see the pressure is piling up. So you have to unpin the knight out of bishop b4. Now I go for b5. Now, obviously, I'm not blundering a pawn here. He took. He shouldn't have done that. He undoubled the pawn. And now obviously you don't take and hang a pawn. You first capture the knight, and after either the bishop or the pawn captures, you capture back. Not much to say here. I won the opening battle, and it's time to try and convert this minor advantage, which is being a pawn up. Now it's worth noting that my pieces are still undeveloped completely, so white does have some compensation. He plays e4, taking space, accurate move. I play bishop to b7. The idea behind the Semi-Slav. Put this bishop on this monster diagonal. Now he goes knight to d2, which is a major blunder. He was basically trying to defend the pawn, but what he missed is b4. Just a simple bishop trap, which is not very common, because you'd expect that there is no way he'll push this pawn ever, because that weakens this pawn. But in this case, you block the retreat square of the bishop, immediately spot b4, and there are no tricks here. Like, let's say you'd think that his trick is to go queen a4 check, but it's not. I just block with the knight, and now d5, it's completely fine. I recaptured. There is nothing. I'm just going to be up a bishop here. Now, credit for him, he makes the best out of the situation. He captures the pawn and captures another pawn, so now it's a bishop for one pawn. And my king still hasn't castled, but it will castle very soon. I play bishop e7, trying to castle, and let me tell you, if I castle, I'll just go on to win the game. Just this past h pawn, past a pawn, and all of these pieces, just an extra piece, I think I would win the game comfortably. So that's what he thought, and again, he makes an unsound sacrifice. By unsound, I mean bad. Bishop takes on e6. It's actually a good move, objectively. I mean, if you just let me castle, I'm just going to consolidate and win the game slowly but eventually. So he makes his sacrifice. The idea behind it is, I was surprised when he sacrificed a piece. You give this check, and now you force the king to f8, and now the king is stuck in the center, and it would take him a lot of time to actually get out. But here's the thing, you're down two pieces. Unless you have a major checkmating attack, which I don't see, I can always bring the knight, I can always bring the bishop, bring the queen. Unless you checkmate me right now, nothing will happen. You do have this good center though, I will admit. He castles, getting his king out of the center, and now I play knight to d7, trying to go to f6 with tempo on the queen. He stops all of that by playing e5. The downside is, now this push is impossible. Now my bishop is much more active than before. I mean, this bishop is very nice. I go queen a8, trying to go for a queen trade. And at this time in the game, I'm using my time just making sure there is no way for him to attack my king, you know? Because I know if I consolidate, if I trade off pieces, I will just win. I'm up two pieces. Queen g4, attacking the e6 pawn. I defended with queen f7. All of this I saw beforehand, nothing scary. I went to f5, he went back, and in this position I played king to g8, fully anticipating g4. I was fully anticipating this move, because you really want to just push as many pawns on the king as possible. Your king is safe. But he didn't, and instead he went for this tricky queen b5. And lucky for me, I have two responses, either knight to b6 or bishop to c8. Bishop to c8 is obviously passive, I need to block, it's much better, getting both pieces out of danger. He plays c4, and now I went here trying to go for this checkmate. Obviously he will see that, but I calculated that after rook f2, I have bishop to h4, and now you see the problem. He can't go here because of the queen, and he can't move the rook because of checkmate. So he has to block, and in this position I decide to sacrifice back a piece, but this sacrifice is actually very good. Bishop takes on g3, brilliant move, but I saw the whole idea behind it, but it's not really that brilliant. I mean, this is just a crushing, obvious sacrifice. He captures back, I capture. Obviously can't block because of checkmate, so you need to move the king. I mean, just look at this monster bishop. It's really the hero of the Semi-Slav. And I gave this check. He could have went back. If he went back, I would have actually just evacuated the position with my queen, tried something. But he didn't. He didn't go back. He went into the middle, and now instead of capturing this pawn, I waited and decided to give this check in between the pieces here. And I was fully expecting him to go back, but to my surprise, the guy played rook e2, which is a mistake because now I have this check. You're forced to block with the knight, and now I go here. Only way to protect the knight. Now again, you can't go here because you blundered the knight. The only way to protect the knight is rook f2, and now I capture the knight, he captures back, I go I don't capture the pawn. See, this is very, very, very instructional. If I capture the pawn, this is still fine, but much better is to give this check first, force the king to the side of the board, and now capture this pawn of check. And here he's forced. I mean, where can you go? You can't really go anywhere. If you go here, you hang the rook. See, I'm attacking the rook. You have to step forward. And if you step here or here, it doesn't matter. I'm capturing the pawn with check. I mean, really, why is this inaccurate? I'm going into an endgame up 2 pawns and up a piece, right? He goes here trying to attack this pawn. I block, and I'm not really going to say a whole lot here. I just won this endgame very cleanly. I have 20 minutes. There's no way I don't manage to convert this endgame. He won this pawn, but who cares? I have an overwhelming advantage. And even without this rook, this probably is winning, which is crazy. And I'm not going to show the moves here, but in this position, my opponent resigned because he knew that I will just bring my king, promote, and comfortably win a rook and a pawn, right? So it was a nice, clean game, quick game. No real dangers, and I'm just happy to have such a clean win.